Good morning and welcome to this episode on NIMASA podcast. Today, Friday, the 6th of October 2023, we will bring you another all-inclusive, important, and very interesting discourse bordering on port and flag state control implementation. Before I introduce my guest, permit me to give a little background, definition, and knowledge about our topic. A flag state is a country where a company registers its commercial and merchant ships. A ship registers with a specific nation, then flies that nation's flag. Their registration of that country signifies a flag state. For example, ships registered in Nigeria with Nigeria would fly the Nigerian flag. When a country exercises control over a ship that is registered in her domain, such control is called a flag state control. The role of a flag state is to conduct regular inspections of each of their ships to ensure the safety of their cargo and crew members, amongst others. Now, on the other hand, a port state is a nation that allows a port state control at its ports. While port state control is a system of harmonized inspection procedures designed to inspect foreign registered ships in ports and, of course, take actions against vessels that are not in compliance with international conventions. As we all know, ships trade internationally for a long time, and during this long time, they call at various ports that are not their home ports. During this period, some vessels may be due for maintenance, some may be due for certificate renewals. Therefore, the importance of inspecting ships at various ports are very important in regards to safety, in regards to maintenance, and even manning, amongst others, arises. My guest today is a versatile and purpose-driven master mariner with an extensive experience in shipboard operations, shipping, project, and business management spanning across continents. He has over 3 decades experience with so many awards, one of which is the best graduating cadet in the National Nautical Studies Department of the 1987 set in the prestigious Maritime Academy, Oron, an alumnus of University of Hull in UK, also Singapore Polytechnic, amongst other many qualifications, too much to mention. A young 4th officer at the Nigerian National Shipping Line in 1989, and by 1999 became a master at Petro Ships Pte Limited in faraway Singapore. A retired director from the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, who is presently the Secretary General of the Abuja MoU, a role he assumed in January 4th, 2023. Join me as I welcome a very fine gentleman and the first master mariner heading the Abuja MoU, Captain Sunday Michael Umoren. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
By the way, sir, congratulations on winning the Independence Day golf tournament held to commemorate the Nigerian Independence Day in Uyo, the capital of Akwa Ibom State. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
I never knew you were a very good golfer. So, sir, back to our discourse of the day. You heard the Abuja MoU as a Secretary General. So let's know, for those that are not really aware and conversant with what the Abuja MoU is, what is this body you represent? What is the objective of the Abuja MoU, sir?
Okay, thank you very much, and to all listeners, it's good to have you listening in. The concept of the MoU regime, it has its root in the IMO, International Maritime Organization, who it's an arm of the United Nations that is tasked with the management of maritime safety and security and the protection of the marine environment. The MOUs, the whole world is divided into 9 regions, to which ours is called the Abuja MoU, which is the region for West and Central African states. It has 22 countries. It spans from Mauritania down to South Africa. And the clear objective of the MOUs is to ensure that no substandard vessel sells or trades within the region. It's a harmonized system, harmonized in the sense that we have commonality with respect to checklist and the enforcement principle, such that whatever you see in country A is the same inspection regime that you'll be subjected to in country B and country C. And so the question you ask yourself is, what's a substandard vessel? A substandard vessel generally it's a vessel that may have these noted issues which could span from defective in design and construction, neglect of its maintenance and repairs, prolonged being used past its what we call the
lifespan.
The lifespan, and so that's in which case she should have been scrapped, but she's still being used, and it's being manned poorly. Manned by poorly trained officers, that's uncertificated officers, and it's also undermanned, not having sufficient capacity, sufficient resources or personnel to man the vessel, or being maintained in unacceptable ways. So that forms what we call the substandard vessel. And substandard vessels are the major causes of accidents you have in our waters.
Okay.
If a vessel meets that standard, IMO standard, she is actually certified to be safe, to stay afloat. It's actually certified to be safe for the people working in there. It's actually safe and with respect to exposure of the environment.
Okay.
So the key objective of the MOU regime, which Abuja MOU is one, is for us to ensure that such vessels don't trade in the world. And like you had clearly defined the flag state and the port state. Flag state, you implement these things, IMO convention, on your vessel.
Within. Yeah.
So for vessels coming into your port, there's absolutely no platform for you to actually go and inspect the vessels, except the port state regime. So that gives you the platform of inspecting every vessel that comes into your port. But then we've come to realize it's actually impossible for you to inspect all the vessels. So all the MOUs come up with some sort of commitment as to the limit, the minimum percentage of vessels they can inspect.
You should inspect.
So for us in Abuja MOU region, we've agreed that we should target minimum 15% of ships coming into our regions. They should be inspected.
Correct.
Thank
So
you.
it's safe to say, like, the Abuja MOU serves like, should I say, the road safety of the sea.
Excellent. And then, do we really do it by ourselves? Absolutely not. We latch on to the inspectors that the maritime administrations have. So in Nigeria, the postal control officers in NIMASA are the ones doing the job for us.
Okay.
In Ghana, the postal control officers of the Ghana Maritime Authority are the ones doing it for us. In Sierra Leone, the postal control officers of the Sierra Leone Maritime Administrations are the ones doing it for us. So that's how we work.
Basically, it's like a job delegation. These people are responsible to carry out these activities on behalf of the Abuja MOU.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say that the Abuja MOU is a legal document that harmonizes port state control procedures and practices within regions, operating in that international convention. Okay, correct. So where are we in the port and flag state implementation as a country, even as a region at large? Where are we? How are we faring? What are the successes recorded? And if we're to compare with, we have other MOUs, the likes of Paris MOU, Caribbean MOU, the Indian Ocean MOU. What are the comparisons, and how are we faring as a region?
Okay, we've started the benchmarking processes to actually benchmark our performances against other MOUs. The thing about the MOU regimes is that we actually act as brothers and sisters, and in fact, International Maritime Organization is slowly moving away from regional harmonization to global harmonization. which means whatever you see in Paris MOU
Should be the same.
Should be the same that should be
Every other
subject to in other regions. So we have, like we said, most of the MOUs have different commitment level. We have 15%. Some MOUs have 50%. Some actually have below 5%. And yes, we have been striving. We have been striving into meeting this commitment. And also, yes, I can tell you, we are not the topmost. Paris MOU has been in existence. In fact, Paris MOU is actually the gave birth to other MOUs. So they also stand out there. We have actually picked Paris MOU and Tokyo MOU as our mentors. So we are looking at them, and because some of the things you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, you can replicate them.
You just replicate them. You stand on the shoulders of giants, like Isaac Newton said. And you also will be surprised that certain things that we are also doing, they are also taking back from us. I'll give you an example. Communication is key in post-state regime, because if you need to flag a substandard vessel in the region, everybody needs to know real time that that vessel is in the region, and you keep an eye on the vessel. In time past, through administrative bottlenecks, by the time one administration sends a letter to the next administration, the vessel could have just will be gone past your waters. But what we have done in Abuja, we use simple technology, WhatsApp.
Okay.
So we've created a WhatsApp group for all the posted control officers in the region.
Okay.
And so once it's posted there, if a message comes in from Nigeria on the platform, all the member states are aware of it. And their eyes are on it. And other emojis are like, wow, that's a good one. Doesn't cost us anything. And they're also following suit. We've also started what we call the mentor-mentee scheme, which we'll talk much later, to which the flag states, port states that are struggling can be mentored by port-state countries that are doing better.
I think we'll get there.
So we just started one in Nigeria, which we give kudos to the DG for that support. So they are also looking at it. Two MOUs are also looking at doing that too. So yes, we learn from each other. And we usually also, our father, the IMO, once in a year also calls us together on a round table. We talk, we share ideas, because like we said, it's harmonization. It has to be a flat standard. We have to be at par with each other.
Correct.
So we also meet to discuss. So we are not doing badly. We are doing greatly. And sorry, before we skip in, we are also observers in each other's meeting.
Okay.
In the meeting we had in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, the other MO is also presented in our meetings.
Right.
In their own meetings too, I also attend and also make presentation.
So everybody is keeping an eye for each other.
Yes,
it's safe to say
that
communication is key, and the world being a global village, everything. It's a ball. Everything circles around. So when you reach out to the other party reach out to you. You copy or you replicate rather. Standards and operating procedures in other MOUs.
But before you go, you just chip in something about the world being a global village. It can be truer than at sea, because if a tanker that's loaded with say 100,000 tons of crude oil gets to spill that volume in the European waters, you'll be amazed that spillage could spill down to Africa.
It's coming down here.
If it happens in West Coast of Africa, in less than no time, the coast of America and Brazil will be affected.
So everybody has to look out for each other.
Yes.
Very correct. So let's go to highlight a few. Can you highlight a few advantages of the effectiveness of having a port state control regime? What are the advantages of having this regime?
Okay, as highlighted earlier, that's the primary objective for the MOU regime is to eliminate substandard vessels. So I'm going to answer that question by talking about the risk of having substandard vessels.
Yes, we're about to get to the threats and all of that.
So what are the risks? First is the threat to human life, loss of human life, and through injuries or damage to third party. The crew, there could be an accident on board because of bad practices. The crew could be affected. A vessel at port, say in Nigerian port, like we will say, God forbid, a vessel in port could explode and blow up the whole terminal.
Correct.
So that's one aspect, the threats to human life. There's also the risk to the marine environment. We just spoke about pollution. If there's pollution today, our fishermen will have nothing to catch. You know, the beaches will be out of service. Nobody can go there. So there's the risk to the marine environment. There's also the threat and exposure of marine assets, which could be total or partial loss of ship. A ship could actually founder, as in go down. You can salvage it, or it could partially be put out of service. And also the related interfaces can also be exposed. There's also the risk to cargo. Hey, you just walk this long and then you bought a car from America. The car is to be shipped to you. You've been waiting for this car. And all of a sudden, the vessel that is bringing the car gets involved in an accident. And your car is gone. So there's also the risk to cargo, which could be loss or damage or even short delivery with respect to product. And there's also the economic impact. It's an investment at every point in time. Even the cost of a vessel, depending on the type of vessel, LNG carriers cost as much as $250 million. Wow. That's a lot.
Quite a lot.
The cargoes on board, they are valued at so much prices.
Millions.
So you look at the economic impact, and of course, finally, not the list, the knock-on effect. You import petroleum products into your country. So imagine the vessel that's bringing this large, your next suppliers get involved in an accident and it's gone. So what is going to happen to your flow? So there will be serious disruption.
The trickle effect.
So by the so I think I've tried to answer the fact that if we didn't have effective postal control regime, this could have been the consequences.
All right. So could we talk about what the threats are, what the challenges are to this implementation? What do you face? What are the bottlenecks that
Okay. Key to the postal regime, the challenges will be the non-ratification and domestication of we actually call it relevant instrument.
Okay.
Every MOUs have agreed relevant instruments to use. We currently have 16 relevant instruments as an IMO convention. IMO churns out these conventions. Convention on safety of life at sea, convention on marine pollution, convention on rest period, and the rest. IMO does not enforce their convention. So it's flag state now. It's the countries that will ratify and domesticate them. It's when you domesticate these conventions that they become your laws. And then you have the right to enforce and enforce those conventions.
Correct.
So if you don't domesticate them, you can't enforce them because there are no laws. If I take an example, you could say, okay, you need to have one remote control, minimum one remote control. And that's what IMO will say. So it's when it becomes your own law that you say, okay, if you don't have one remote control, you pay this fine or your vessel will be detained. Okay. So the major challenge we have is in member states not domesticating all the conventions because you can't enforce the conventions that you have not domesticated. They are not your laws. So that's one aspect. Then there's also the manpower shortage. It's a global issue. There are not too many seafarers out there in the world. So most countries don't have they don't have sufficient manpower with respect to postal control officers to conduct inspections for them. And by so doing, some actually will try to come down on the standard. But then clearly, following IMO resolution A1155/32, standards are set. The minimum qualification for postal control officers are highlighted, which must be the case. So there's also the case of postal control officers not having sufficient experience. In time past, we're like, you have to be an ex-master mariner or an ex-chief engineer on board the vessel, as in having a managerial position, responsibility on board a ship, before you can be a postal control officer. And so that's also it's a big problem. And so we are also trying to train them. In fact, the mentor-mentee scheme is in place to actually help us to mitigate such action. And there is also the other issue again for our own region. There is no maritime training institution that's offering a course on postal control. So when we came in on board, we looked at that and we've actually started discussion with these 3 maritime training institutions: Maritime Academy of Nigeria, the Regional Maritime University in Ghana, and the IMSLI Institute in Côte d'Ivoire, for the French-speaking countries, to develop that training package, a certified program for postal control officers. Because for now, most countries have to send their posted control officers to Italy,
Italy,
for
okay.
such training,
Okay.
besides the ones that we organize for the member states. So we're looking at by next year, hopefully, we should be able to have at least 1 or 2 institutions.
Okay, that brings me to what I was about to ask, next. It's barely 3 months to you marking your first year in office, as you were appointed in January this year, 2023. Like you said, you already talked about how the efforts being made to increase manpower to train all these port state control officers. That was the question I was about to ask. What are you doing differently? What are you improving on? And what would you count as your remarkable achievements in this period where you have spent in office in the Abuja MoU?
Okay, thank you very much. For me, first, you ask yourself at resumption, what did you meet on ground?
Yeah, correct.
And so I have to give kudos to the past Secretary General, Mr. Yowale, Barrister Mfonosoro, for the great job they did.
Who was your predecessor?
Yes, they did great jobs. And so, like Isaac Newton, I always like to quote that line, that you stand on the shoulders of giants. If there's no shoulder, if there's no giant to stand on, you're going to stand on the floor and start building the blocks.
All the way low.
So they did a great job in setting up the structure. I met a very staunch structure on ground. And so when I came in, I looked around and I said, hey, what do we need to do to move to the next level? I said, look, we need to focus on operational excellence. Okay. Operational excellence is that which will bring us from where we are to where we need to be. And in fact, we started with the mindset aspect. The mindset will be, look at your mission, look at your vision, and then see if they still meet your realities, they still meet the realities of today. If not,
update them.
And that's what we did. And one of the keys is that, look, we want to be amongst the top quartile of MOUs in the world. And so under that was the issue of the mentor-mentee. Here, some countries are struggling. Others, like Nigeria, South Africa, and the rest, are doing quite well. And so how do we bridge the gaps? It's harmonization. We need to be at par. And so what we did was thought through the mentor-mentee scheme, which I give the kudos to Dr. Jamo for allowing us to
NIMASA.
DG of NIMASA,
right,
for us to launch the mentor-mentee scheme just this week. And so that's a clear win. Like I said, other MOUs are also following us. There was also the issue of communication, like we said. How do you communicate? You can't really track vessels. And so we came up with the WhatsApp thing, and we didn't just end there. We said, okay, let's look at countries that have maritime domain awareness, countries that are able to monitor their coast, like Nigeria through the C4I project under the Blue project. We get into an agreement with them and say, look, if we get any notification of a substandard vessel coming, we'll come to you and say, hey, can you trace where the vessel is? Once we get that response, we disseminate it to all the member states. So, but by so doing, our foot
on the ground,
our eyes are all opened, and so we actually monitor effectively the region. And then the issue of training. Training can be quite expensive. So how do we get up the team to have the best? I'm proud to announce we engaged with the U.S. Coast Guard on a training program. That is going to be finalized somewhere later next year. But the greatest win was with the European Maritime Safety Agency, EMSA. The agreement is ready to be signed. It's just for us to agree on the date to go and sign. So with EMSA, we now have the full support of Europe, EU. I start with EU because EMSA is part of it. We now have the full support of EU through EMSA for the trainings of our postal control officers and even the use of their resources. So that's good. And then again, I still give it to the DG of NIMASA, who during the last committee meeting offered to give access to our member state, access to the e-library.
The one you have domiciled at the resource center. Correct.
So now our member state will have access to our e-library for their research programs and for every other thing. So we've tried to build on the operational excellence so that at the end of the day we will move to be at the same level with the other MOUs. And we don't shy off in telling them, look, we need to we need to walk the path that you have walked.
Yeah.
We have an agreement with Paris MoU to revise all the existing procedures.
Okay.
Like I said, somebody has done it already. So why do you have to waste your time reinventing the wheel?
Yeah.
So they've given us the approval to revise all their procedures and domesticate them for our postal control officers.
Okay. Okay, correct. The conversation you brought about that, you talked about the mentor and the mentee. So that brings me the recent visit from the Sierra Leonean authorities. If I recall, sometime this week there was a visit from the Sierra Leone port state control officers. What was this visit about? I think it was led by their executive director of the Maritime Administration. So give us a breakdown. What is in works? What are you guys working on?
Okay, they actually call him executive director, but you want to part it to what we have in Nigeria. It's actually the DG of the SLM, Sierra Leone Maritime Administration. It's in furtherance to the mentor-mentee scheme, which we have. Singapore is not yet meeting that standard.
Okay.
With respect to numeric, the number of postal control officers, with respect to degree of professionalism, and then so we said, look, Nigeria, you are out there. With respect to number, Nigeria is one of the top most performing MOUs. Sorry, performing maritime administration.
Okay.
And so we said, okay, so we're gonna bring these guys to you for you to mentor them, give them that on-the-job training for a period of 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and bring them up to standard.
Practical trainings
on the job, and to which the DG gladly accepted. And the kickoff meeting was just about 2 days ago, and the team are already on ground. They are hitting and running, conducting inspections, being trained by the Nigerian Maritime Administration postal control officers. So it's a capacity building thing.
How long is this expected to last?
For now, it's okay. The first phase is this phase, which is 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
Later there will be follow-up training. The follow-up training could be about picking up the postal control officer from Nigeria to now go to Sierra Leone, stay with them, work with them on their own ground, and then see how they are doing. And other countries are already queuing up to benefit
join
from
the badge.
Yeah, to join the badge.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So it's a collaborative effort, and I want to say a big thank you to the Dr. Bashir-led administration of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency for being collaborative and ensuring that other regions are doing as well as we are doing in this part of the world.
Being the real big brother.
Yes, we are. I think at this point it's safe to say we are the big brother, and we're doing it. We're carrying out the duty very well. Lastly, before we go, we would like to get your view on the newly created Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What do you have to say? What are the advantages of this ministry? Do you think this would be more beneficial to agencies or to industries rattled with the responsibility of the maritime space? What's your take on this new ministry?
First, I will salute the current administration, the president. I will salute the president for that bold step, because it's absolutely not easy to create something. We have always, by virtue of the things we do, if you look at our charter, it's clearly highlighted that the Maritime Administration and the supervising ministry, the minister of the supervising ministry, will be a member of our Council of Ministers. And so in time past, the transport ministers were the ones involved. And I'm here to tell you that the current Minister for Marine and Blue Economy is our vice chairman.
Okay, correct.
He's a vice chairman. And transport is always a big ministry in every country. Go to Gambia and the rest. I've worked with them, and it's always too big. When you are big, yes, you'll be effective, but how effective can you be?
Yeah.
So imagine now that we are now focused,
microlized
into blue economy, into the maritime, and so it's going to be much more effective. The oversight role is going to be a lot easier because you are focused on what you want, so you can easily develop the capacity to do it. And I clap for the new minister and the PEM secretary. They have been very supportive, and they may not like to hear this, but I have to say it. Abuja MoU Council meeting, the committee meeting we had in Abidjan, was the minister's first outside assignment, outside Nigeria.
All right.
And so he came, he joined as a vice chairman, he joined the meeting, he contributed so well, he heard so much from other countries, and of course he was at hand to see what Cote d'Ivoire is also doing.
Yeah.
So it's a clear sign that the minister knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been a case of, oh, I'm busy, I just took over.
Delegation. Let's go.
It was during his takeover time that he carved out that time,
Made out time for
to come in to join us.
It shows the importance he
He's
lays
placing on this.
on the ministry.
And like we tell people, we said, look, if there's no effective postal control regime, blue economy will be affected.
Correct.
The things you think you're going to gain from the aquaculture deal, the
Because there's
tourism
no
deal,
monitoring.
there's no monitoring. You know, so for him to come from that angle, from implementation angle, means yes, he knows what he's going to do. So we are very grateful. We are quite hopeful. And like I tell people, I said, let's give the new regime a benefit of the doubt. You know, people always say, oh, yes, the intention is good, but nothing will the finishing is always bad. Let's give them benefit of the doubt. If you have positive suggestions, channel them to the ministry, channel them to NIMASA. Let's work together to make sure that we make the best out of the blue economy.
Oh, very correct. Thank you very much, sir, for gracing us with your knowledge and enlightening us on the body in which you control, which is the Abuja MoU. At the same time, let's get your view. Now, you see the studio we're in it. It's a new invention of the NIMASA, which is the NIMASA podcast studio. What's your take on this innovation, and what would be your advice to us?
Okay, it's a good innovation, and you know, like we always will say, when you get into a place, just ask yourself, what do I do? What value can I add? What kind of value can I bring to the table? Assess yourself quarterly, annually to see, have I really achieved them? If not, then you need to have a rethink. You know, in time past, programs will be aired out, and once it's aired, it's all gone. You can't go back there again.
Yeah, no
so
review.
now, at your own time,
Go back to it.
you can always go back to it. Okay, I think something was settled in so program. You go back and review it. So it's a good step. It's a good step, and I'm sure a lot of people will come back with positive words for this great innovation. And like we said, okay, as it is in life, so this is a new innovation. What next? What's going to be like next year?
Correct.
What's going to be like in the next 5 years? So we also need to say, okay, we have stepped up.
Yeah.
So
What next?
let's continue
And
building
there should
up.
be growth. There should be an ascending growth.
Until you get to the zenith, which nobody ever gets there.
Well,
but
I think we're on the right path to one
Yeah,
day
excellent.
achieving our goals and hopefully getting to the zenith of our careers and the job we do. So that being said, that will be all for today. As Captain has said, you know, you can always go back for a review. So join us again. You can watch this program on all our platforms, particularly our YouTube channel. And don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. See you next time here on the NIMASA podcast, and enjoy your weekend. Bye for now.
thank you very much. Keep the sea safe.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.